Hey, do y'all want to hear something exciting today? I coach several people, and one of the folks who I coach is actually in prison right now. It's a Class J felony, which is um, as bad as murder, or maybe worse than murderer. And in his case, he's not guilty. Um, and while he's been in prison because of a previous conviction, he's been the target of abuse by prison guards. He has been kicked in the head and brutally kicked in his legs. And because of a plate in his skull, and then plates and screws in his legs, he had severe bruising and did have seizures. Had to be taken to the ER and put on seizure medication. And the legs didn't break with the steel-toed shoes of the guard because there were plates and screws there. So that's what the ER attending physician told him. The only reason you don't have anything broken is because of the steel in your body. He's undergone this because of a previous conviction, which was retaliation from someone who had previously tried to kill him twice. And when he wouldn't die, then the situation was escalated. But I want to talk to you about what we talked about today, and that is, who does Jesus say you are? So, in talking to him, he has, of course, a prisoner number, he has a conviction title, and various other names, right? He has a name that his mother gave him. So, today we talked about um, what does Jesus call you? So, this is a technique I learned from Jamie Winship, who helps us bring our true identity, not our image control, but our true identity to whatever and wherever. So, for example, the name that Jesus calls me, I bring to my marriage as a wife, I bring to my children as a mother, I bring to my grandchildren as a grandmother, I bring to my workplace, I bring to my business. So, this man was put on suicide watch, and I don't know if you're familiar. I'm learning a lot of things about this. I not only mentor prisoners, I mentor chaplains for prisoners. So I'm, excuse me, learning a lot about that environment. Excuse me, but when they put you on suicide watch, you're stripped naked. And that's humiliating. I can't imagine what that might feel like. But I asked him to do this. And I want to invite you to do it too. So I want you to get quiet in your mind and close your eyes just so there are no distractions. And I want you to imagine your most safe place. Okay, for me, my getaway growing up was literally on a sandbar in the middle of a creek, surrounded by the canopy of trees. So the first time I did this exercise, that's where I was in my mind. So for you, it could be the beach. It could be beachfront, oceanfront. You breathe in the salt water. You hear the waves crashing. You hear the seagulls. Or it might be the mountains where you hear the trickle of a creek. But wherever that is for you, I want to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Until you feel at peace and safe in your safe place. Now, with your eyes still closed, I want you to imagine love in that space with you. Now, some of us are going to call that God. God is love. Some of us will call that Jesus. Some of us may say universe. Some of us may say other things, but I want you to focus on where love is in this space with you. Is love surrounding you? Is love above you, below you, to your right, to your left? Just focus on where love is with you. And now I'm going to say Jesus. I want you to ask Jesus or love. You use the word of your choice. I know love as Jesus. I want to ask Jesus, Jesus, what lie am I believing about myself? And then the first thing that comes to your mind, I want you to imagine writing that on a piece of paper. So for this prisoner today, his lie was, it'll never get better. So I said, I want you to write that on a piece of paper. Then I want you to hand that to Jesus. And he said, okay. I said, let me know when you've done that. He said, okay. I said, what did Jesus do with it? And he said he put it up his sleeve. Isn't that cute? I'll bet Jesus has the exchange of that lie for truth also up his sleeve. And in fact, he did. Forgive me because I'm going to cry. Okay, so with this prisoner, and we've got a limited amount of minutes, okay, before you got a 1 minute warning and then you get cut off. So I said, now I want you to ask Jesus what he calls you. And the first thing that comes to your mind, I want you to tell me what it is. And he started laughing. And he said, hold on, I almost fell. He said, I was overcome with some kind of power in my body that just nearly knocked me on my cot in prison, in my cell. And I said, well, what did Jesus call you? And he said, Jesus called me Harold. I said, okay, think about that for a second. I don't think he's exchanging one name for another name. But what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Harold related to Jesus? Is it hark? Listen, hark, the herald angels sing. Glory to the newborn King. He said, yes, that's it. I know that's it. He said, at first I thought, the old man's name Harold, but now I see what you mean. Jesus is calling me Harold. And I said, how does that work? How do you bring that new identity that Jesus is speaking over you to your prison cell where you are in lockdown? I mean, the mattress is on the floor. The fact that he has a mattress is amazing. He's got a mattress on the floor. But he's out now to make a phone call. But when he was in solitary, he had just a mattress on the floor. And they did let him have his Bible. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. So I talked him through what being Harold in prison could look like. Not to excuse the officer's abuse, but that officer did get assigned to him very recently after abusing him. And we're talking about in an environment where only the prisoner and the officer were together. No one else would have seen if he would have been abused again, unfortunately. And even though the captain of the prison and different things, different lieutenant, several are saying, "Hey, you gotta file against this guy." So they want an injured prisoner with a head injury who had a seizure and has brain damage to do their disciplinary action, which is not very realistic. Well, let's get back to Harold. He said, "Yes, I see how I should be telling people while I'm here about Jesus the King." And I said, well, what could that look like for this officer who has abused you horribly, physically abused you? You lost consciousness, you fell down a flight of stairs, you had to be taken to the hospital, put on some IV that was anti-seizure med. How can you be Jesus to him? Not excusing, absolutely not excusing his behavior. Bring him to the full punishment of the law, but do it with and through forgiveness. So you can say to that officer, "Officer, I want to let you know I forgive you because Jesus is King." So I challenge you. What does Jesus call you? The world calls us all kinds of things. The world calls us widowed. The world calls us divorced. The world calls us good things even, like business owner, successful. The world could call you many things, and those are basically image based. And we do our best for image control. Hey, I dressed and showered today for image control. But for real, I want us all to pursue the name that Jesus calls us by. And it's not Chrystal for me, although he did give my mother that name. He calls me like Sarah called Abraham. Sarah called Abraham father of generations, even though he had never had a child. Abraham called Sarah mother of many, even though she was barren. The enemy calls Sarah barren. The enemy calls Abraham childless. We must not be the enemy, but we must instead call Zacchaeus, who climbed up a tree because he was a little man, maybe not even short in stature, but little in his community by reputation, certainly. But when Jesus called Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus means, oh gosh, I forgot. Look it up and let me know. But Jesus was calling Zacchaeus, I think, pure. I think it actually means pure of heart. But what Jesus called this prisoner today was not prisoner. It was not felon. It was not failure. That it was, you are herald. So taking that identity into his prison, he can herald that love. Jesus is King. Have a great day, guys. It's Chrystal Roy with the Kingdom Exchange. Love you.